Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Sassy Joe, and today I'm going to be doing another top 10 video. And in this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 games I feel like either need a remake or remaster, even a port over, or some sort of revival project whatsoever. I'm limiting this list to one game per franchise. So, for example, there won't be two Sonic games in this list, probably like only like one like Mega Man, one, stuff like that. Like basically going to be one game per franchise, and these are the 10 games I feel like need the revival the most. All right, so to kick off this list, originally released for the PlayStation 1 back in 1997, Capcom released Mega Man Legends. All right. Mega Man Legends was a 3D Mega Man game, and honestly, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely better than that X7 crap that we got later on. But Mega Man Legends, I feel like definitely needs a remake. The graphics are outdated. The gameplay was pretty good, and since Capcom has been skyrocketing, at least in their stocks, like they've been like Capcom's been doing really well, especially with the recent releases of Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, and they've also came out like they've revived a lot of like their recent like their older game like Devil May Cry has been doing well. Resident Evil's always going to do well, and lately Mega Man has actually done really well within the past I would say like over 5 years they've been booming. Like, or has it been more than 5 years? Yeah, it's probably been a little more than 5 years. They came out with Mega Man X Legacy Collection, Mega Man Legacy Collection, ported all the old Mega Man games over. They even came out with Mega Man 11. All right, at number 9, I have Skate from 2007. I feel like the very first Skate game is definitely very dated, especially since there is a UI of an outdated phone in this game. Especially like what I mean is there's a UI of like those old phones where you could slide up horizontally and there's like a keyboard, like those slider phones pretty much. Like they have something like that in the game, and if they made like a remake of the very first Skate game with like a new like a newer like an iPhone or an Android, I think they can do really well. We haven't gotten a Skate game from EA since 2010, which was Skate 3. I feel like if EA were to revive the Skate series, I think they could I think they can make a little bit of a profit. Not to mention EA has, I mean, I don't want to say necessarily tank, but there have been some instances where a lot of their newer games haven't done well. I feel like if they remake Skate 2007, I feel like it'll definitely bring their profits up a lot. I would say Skate 3 remake, but I don't think they're. I mean, I don't know. Skate 2007, I feel like definitely deserves a remake for sure. All right, number 8, the very first Metal Gear for the NES. With the recent release of the Metal Gear Solid collection, which includes Metal Gear Solid 1 for the PS1, you also have Metal Gear Solid 2, Solid Snake, or not Solid Snake, Sons of Liberty, my bad. So you have Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, and then you have Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, and then there's also another game within that collection that you get. It has all the old Metal Gear, like Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, both in like originally from the NES. Like you have that in the collection as well. But I feel like if you remake the original 2D Metal Gear, and I feel like that'll be really good for Konami. I think a lot of fans have been anticipating a remake of the original Metal Gear for sure. When the original Metal Gear came out, it was like one of the most like it was one of the most popular 2D games like at the time. I definitely think a remake would succeed for sure. All right, number 7, Final Fantasy 9. Now, yes, I do have to include a Final Fantasy game in this list. Recently, Square Enix has been releasing a lot of the Final Fantasy VII remakes. They've even expanded the story. They've had like I think there was Crisis Core, and then they had Crisis Core, and then there was a bunch of other games revolving around the storyline of Final Fantasy VII. I love Final Fantasy VII. I'm so happy that we got those remakes. But I feel like a Final Fantasy IX remake would do really well for Square Enix. And if I'm correct, I believe there are some news stating that Square Enix does have a Final Fantasy IX remake in the works as of right now. So definitely, I thought I'd mention Final Fantasy IX on this list just because like that game is definitely due for a remake. You've remastered Final Fantasy X and Ten 2, basically ported it over to the next gen consoles. You've had multiple remakes of Final Fantasy VII recently. I think 9 being like the third best Final Fantasy game of all time. I next to 7 and 10, I think Final Fantasy 9 definitely deserves a remake. All right, number 6, one of Valve's classic games, Half-Life. The very first Half-Life came out back in 1998 for PC, and we've been waiting for a Half-Life 3 for over 20 years now, since Half-Life 2 came out back in 2004, I believe it was. Yeah, Half-Life 2 came out in 2004. But we all know Valve. Valve cannot count to 3. And I think if they were to it's been far too long. I think if they just remake the very first Half-Life game, bring it to Steam, bring it to maybe some consoles like a PS5 or Xbox Series X, I think that'll really that'll really help Valve with their revival. I think if they revive Half-Life, it'll really help them out in the long run for sure, and bring Valve back into the competition for sure. All right, number 5, Beyond Good and Evil. The original game was released on PS2, original Xbox. I know the GameCube and PS2 and original Xbox. And then they came out with an HD remake for the Xbox 360. Back in 2018, Ubisoft had teased a Beyond Good and Evil 2, which I believe might have gotten canceled, which kind of sucks to see, because Beyond Good and Evil was probably one of Ubisoft's most underrated games. And, I think at this point, with them canceling if they were to cancel Beyond Good and Evil 2, I definitely think a Beyond Good and Evil remake for PS5 and Xbox Series X and PC, I think would do very well for Ubisoft for sure. Beyond Good and Evil was like, the storyline was really good. Yeah, the storyline was very good. The gameplay was actually kind of fun. Like, I actually really liked Beyond Good and Evil. It is by far one of the most underrated Ubisoft games of all time, and definitely deserves a revival. All right, number 4, originally released for the Sega Dreamcast, we have Skies of Arcadia. Skies of Arcadia was an RPG exclusively for the Sega Dreamcast. I think it definitely deserves a revival. It was definitely one of the best games on the Dreamcast for sure. I've also even looked up the original game. They have no ports of the game on any newer consoles whatsoever, and there's there's like multiple websites state that Skies of Arcadia is close to $200 for the Dreamcast as of today, and I just think that's outrageous. I definitely think Skies of Arcadia either needs a port over, or they most likely need some kind of remake. All right, now we're getting to the top 3. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi at number 3. And now let me explain why. We recently did get Sparkling Zero, but honestly, it's really not that good. It's not as good as I thought it was. I'm very disappointed. We also have Xenoverse that came out back like about almost 10 years ago. The Xenoverse 1 and 2. Xenoverse 2 is a great game, but it is milked dry. Later on in Xenoverse 2's lifespan, the game was milked dry. I think what real Dragon Ball Z fans want, we want a Budokai Tenkaichi remake. That's what we want. If you can just remake Budokai Tenkaichi, release it on PS5, Xbox Series X, maybe even Nintendo Switch or Switch 2, I think Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi remake would do very well, especially for Bandai Namco. All right, number 2, another EA game, NFL Street. NFL Street was like NFL Street definitely had a lot to offer. In my opinion, it was there's just a lot you could do in that game. Like there's just a lot you can do. Definitely, it was a very unique concept. I think if you update NFL Street, like if you make like a remaster of it and just include like newer players into the game, so like if you have like you have like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, just a couple or Saquon, Tyreek Hill, just a few like big faces of the NFL. You include current players in the NFL Street, like an NFL Street remake. EA, you're gonna make some money. Like I think NFL Street definitely needs some kind of revival or remake for sure. All right, before I get to number 1, I just want to say a couple honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention, I want to say Burnout Revenge. Burnout Revenge, if we can get a Burnout Paradise remastered, I think we definitely deserve a Burnout Revenge remastered. This especially with how good Burnout Revenge really was. I think we're definitely due for a Burnout Revenge remastered. The other honorable mentions, NFL Blitz definitely deserves some kind of remake. Similar to NFL Street, you can add like current players from in the NFL to an NFL Blitz remake or just a new NFL Blitz game. I think that would pop for sure. Other honorable mentions I'd like to mention, Sonic Riders. One of the most underrated Sonic games of all time. Definitely need like a new Sonic Riders game, maybe even a Sonic Riders remake of the original Sonic Riders that came out in 2006 for the PS2, original Xbox, and GameCube. I definitely would love to see a Sonic Riders remake. And last but not least, Shadow the Hedgehog that came out back in 2005. Shadow the Hedgehog is one of the most popular Sonic the Hedgehog characters, and with the recent release of Sonic Movie 3, I feel like if Sega were to come out within the next year or two, if they were to either remake Shadow the Hedgehog or just port over the entire game to next gen consoles, I feel like Sega can make some money off that for sure. Anyways, let's get to the number 1 spot. All right, number 1 on this list, definitely one of the biggest Sonic games in the entire franchise, Sonic Heroes. All right, Sonic Heroes, originally released in 2003. I feel like the storyline was great. If you could either it's been too long. We can't have. I don't know about a sequel. A sequel would be cool, but I don't know if we're gonna get a sequel. I think a remake would do slightly better. Maybe even add more teams, more story modes. If we can add characters like Silver and Blaze to the game, I think if we add Silver, Blaze, just a couple other characters that are newer to the that came out after Sonic, characters that were introduced to the Sonic franchise after Sonic Heroes. If you maybe a DLC or something like that, you can add Silver and Blaze. I think a Sonic Heroes remake would do really well for Sega, and it's about time. It's about time. We're due for a Sonic Heroes remake. we're due for a revival. I really like the playing as 3 characters at once. Like the storylines were great. The soundtrack is fire. Um, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think a Sonic Heroes remake would do really well for Sega. Definitely, they help the popularity of Sonic the Hedgehog. So, anyways, those are my top 10 games that I feel like either need a remake or revival. So, what do you guys think? What would you change? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked it, please drop a like below. Also, subscribe for more content. And it's your boy, Sassy Joe, signing out. Have a nice day.